Hey everyone, Carlos here. This episode with Stuart Brittlestar was recorded in early February of this year, and obviously since then things have changed quite a bit in the world of conferences, in the world in general. We're here in the middle of March. All conferences have been delayed, and during my conversation with Stuart, we were obviously talking about Social Media North, which he's setting up in Ontario. So I just wanted to bring that up and let you all know that obviously the conversation we had centered around a little bit of that, but also a lot about his life as a creator and how he approaches social platforms and video platforms. So I thought it was still pertinent for you guys to sort of listen to it. And obviously, take into consideration that the dates have changed. Social Media North is now postponed. And I also wanted to send a quick message to say, please be careful and wash your hands. On with the show.
Welcome to the Video Insiders Podcast. I'm Carlos Pacheco.
And I'm Tom Martin.
And we are two grizzled YouTube veterans who are here to help you make more money. We've been doing this for, I think, almost 10 years at this point, and have been managing YouTube channels for a very long time. We are here making this podcast to help you understand the behind the scenes of YouTube. Tom, how have you been?
I've been great, thank you. I've been had a couple of weeks of crazy. I've been basically locked in PowerPoint for the last couple of weeks, whether that is working on some slides or presenting. I actually presented 2 talks at VidCon London, just not last week, the week before, and still recovering from that. So yeah, lesson learned is not to give 2 talks in the space of a few days, especially if one is brand new and you feel like you need to give it some extra practice. So, but overall, yeah, feeling good. It was a great event. Saw so many people that I know really well that I haven't seen for a while. Met some new people that I kind of knew online but hadn't met in person. And then obviously meeting lots of nice, cool, interesting people too. So yeah, it was really, really good.
Yeah, so by the time, just so the audience knows, by the time you get this out, VidCon London will be almost a month behind, and we'll be approaching, I would say, mid-March by this time, and we're recording first week of March. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting seeing right now as the insanity of the coronavirus is starting to hit, and all these conferences are starting to get canceled. So.
Yeah, I was speaking to Rob from vidIQ actually, and he was like, "Don't worry, we're young, we're fine." And he's like, "No, but didn't you hear there was like a doctor that died? He was like 30 years old." I'm like, "Oh, don't say that." And then as soon as the conference finished on the Monday, finished on the Sunday. On the Monday, I came down with flu, and I'm like, "Oh." And then I put my out of office on for a few days to 1, catch up, and 2, just because I didn't feel well. And I emailed Rob again, and I was like, "You won't believe it. After our conversation, I got really bad flu." And he's like, "Yeah, I had a really bad flu as well." So, and then I've spoken to more people since then that also came down with flu. So yeah, those kind of mass gatherings are just germ fests. A lot of handshaking, a lot of recycled air. Yeah. So
yeah, wow, yeah, it's kind of crazy.
I'm doing a lot of traveling and a lot of speaking at a lot of big events in the next month, so I am going to be taking on a lot of vitamin C before that, and praying to whoever's out there to keep me free of coronavirus.
Yeah, same here. We started to stock up on disinfectant, on hand disinfectant. So
oh yeah, that's sold out in a lot of shops over here, man. I went to get some yesterday, none. Even signs on the front of the stores like, "Please note, we haven't got any in stock. Like, don't come in and ask us." Like,
wow. All right, let's hope by the time this podcast comes out that things will be a little bit less crazy. So we're. This episode is another interview episode. It is with a colleague, a friend, a local friend of mine, Stuart Brittlestar. I won't call him a YouTuber. He's more of an online creator, and he does not focus on YouTube almost at all, although he does have a YouTube channel and he does put this content there. He's much more of a all around online creator, creating, TikToks and Vine. Oh, I was going to say Vine, and Twitter videos. He actually monetizes on Twitter, which is a rare thing for a creator these days. So yeah, like I've been wanting to talk to him for ages because he's bringing a new conference to Canada, which in a way is sort of like an homage to VidCon, because there's no VidCon in Canada. And I've been wanting to talk to him for ages. So before we get to it, let's thank our sponsor. Take your channel to the next level with TubeBuddy. TubeBuddy gives you the tools to boost subscribers, views, and engagement. One of my favorite features is the bulk copy processing feature, which lets you update hundreds of channels in minutes. Nothing is better to tell to a client that you'll be able to remove a link in hundreds of videos within minutes. They are always amazed when I tell them that. Tom, how can people sign up to TubeBuddy?
Yeah, if you don't already use TubeBuddy, which is a miracle because they are awesome, you can get a unique, exclusive Video Insiders multi-channel discount by visiting videoinsiders.fm/TubeBuddy.
Awesome. Thanks, TubeBuddy.
So, yeah, I'm really interested to hear this interview, Carlos. Amazed to hear you say that he's not really focusing on YouTube, but then you also call him the Hank Green of Canada, because obviously Hank Green is very much, not saying that's all he does, but it's very much the kind of part of his DNA is YouTube, and he started VidCon, and so I'm sure there's a lot of great parallels. But I'm really interested to hear this interview because, shock horror, I don't have a lot of spare time to watch a lot of YouTube videos apart from what I'm already working on for myself or for clients. So Brittlestar wasn't really a name that had crossed my radar until the other day when I actually saw a video of his on Twitter, which was a response video to the guy that was punching the reclined seat in front of him on the airplane. And I've got to say, this video was so funny. I mean, like, I was in hysterics. And for me to watch a video on, I think it was on Twitter, direct natively is just beyond rare. Yeah, so yeah, I was super keen to hear more of what Stuart said, and just fascinated because the production quality was great. It was so funny. It was like so timely. It was like so on trend. The fact that he'd managed to move so fast, you can tell that he knows his stuff. And he's obviously got the systems in place to be able to mobilize that quick to make such a great video. Yeah. So yeah, fascinated to hear what he's got to say.
Let's get to it.
Stuart, welcome to the Video Insiders podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, I've been wanting to have you for a while. We've known each other online for quite a few years now. I don't think we've ever met in real life.
I was thinking about that this morning, and I think we've met maybe once at like an industry day at Bufferfest at the CBC Glenn Gould Studio.
It might have been really quick.
I mean, I embrace a lot of people, so it's hard. Yes. I don't see faces. I just feel hugs. That's all.
Yes.
That's all.
Well, then you'd remember my hug. So, Stuart, you're literally the first online creator we've had on the Video Insider podcast, mainly because we are focused about the behind the scenes. We're not about, we're not a podcast that just wants to jump into whoever's influential and sort of piggyback off their fame. We just want to talk about the behind the scenes and what makes a creator or a business take on this space.
Right.
So, just letting you know, you're the first one. So it's going to be, interesting conversation here. I'm not going to tell you what about the fans and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to set the bar high. Don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. So the first question I sort of want to ask you is for me, you're one of the most sort of responsible, thoughtful creators in the space. You're a Canadian creator. Wow. You're not, let's just say you're not a million follow a creator, you're small, but you're also in Canada, so it sort of evens itself out. You could argue, but I sort of think of you as the John Green of Canada, meaning like John's in a space and he's been sort of experimenting in a space, but also he's very responsible and thoughtful, and isn't there just for the fame. He's there to teach and educate and stuff like that. So what brought you into space? What were you doing before you became influential?
Well, I mean, this is a good question. I mean, I've been essentially self-employed since I was 19. I started doing radio jingles when I was 19 in my parents' basement, and did that until I was 24 as a job. And it was great. I mean, I had a couple of part-time jobs here and there in record stores and all that kind of stuff. But did that till I was 24, and then moved to the UK, and then came back here, and then in sort of in the late 90s here in Canada, Shannon, my wife, and I were deciding about having kids and stuff, and we're like, well, starting to plan. We're like, well, if we have kids, we'd like to be able to stay home with them. So how can we keep doing that? And it was like, well, we'll just have to start a business. So it was around the time of domain name sales and web hosting and web development and all that kind of stuff. So we did a lot of that. We had a web development company from 99 to 2009. And it's interesting because I think my approach to my role in social media is based on this, how I got here, which is to say that in 2006, December 21st at 1:36 p.m., we were doing a mass migration of about a couple thousand clients that we had, and we were hacked, like literally in between servers. So we had a security team, like who were hired and on staff security team, not on staff, but on hire security team, who were supposed to be watching this kind of stuff. And they kind of dropped the ball a little bit. And then we, of course, did like religious backups and stuff like that. But then this was like the worst possible time to be hacked, because it meant that we were down. We didn't have the same architecture. So we couldn't just like flip a switch and make everyone's site come back on. Mm-hmm. So it was catastrophic. We went from 16 employees down to just me. It was brutal. So it was like super real awful. So anyway, we sort of cobbled together the remainder of the company and ended up selling it in 2009 to a guy in Georgia, and he's then since sold it on to a huge company in Canada again, which is amazing, and it's doing really well, which is awesome to see. But we took our money. We thought, great, let's start some more businesses. So we started six different businesses, none of which worked. And the main reason they didn't work was this was like the first time I'd ever felt the repercussions of a recession. And it was, of course, just after the 2008 sort of recession, and that had drifted into Canada in 2009, 2010. And nothing we did stuck. So we basically just drifted on the remnants of the sale money until about 2013. And I did some voiceover work here and there and all that kind of stuff. And then in 2013, just to sort of literally to stop myself from being depressed, I was like, I'm just going to start messing around and making videos. And then it took off, and we had a couple of hits. And then within a month and a half of our first viral video, Disney contacted us, and it was like, wow, we can make money doing this. So my view of social media is very much aware of how horrible it can be and how terrible it can be, but also extremely thankful for it, because without social media, we would have lost everything.
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea about that, that story, but like one of the things that I find, it sort of makes sense, knowing that your background, I'm seeing, how you're able to sort of like keep business going. It's because you've built businesses. So you know that, you know how to monetize beyond just like, hey, I'm just going to run some AdSense, or I'm going to be some ads on my content. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we want to mention is that I think your breakthrough was Vine, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. I have total, appreciation towards Vine, despite how horrendously I felt it was handled at the end. But I mean, we owe everything to it. Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah. I not to self-brag here, but I did have a couple of viral hits on Vine, but
Nice.
nice. But I didn't. One of my problems is that I didn't capitalize on it. I didn't want to. It was all based on my pug at the time.
Right. Yeah.
So I didn't
remember.
want to. Yeah, and then I didn't want to sort of like jump on that. I didn't want to sort of use him to become famous.
Right.
So.
See, I used my children. If we had pets, I would have used pets at the time as well. Anything I could use is fine. Yeah. I mean, I had built up 1.2 million followers on Vine when it ended.
That's insane.
And it went down to start over after that. Crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, you've turned this into a family affair, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody's involved. From what I've seen so far, is your wife is involved, your mom's involved, and your son, who's quite the established TikTok star now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we have two sons, and so Shannon and I at the beginning of the day, beginning of the story of Vine and stuff, it was literally a case of we were cobbling together money to pay mortgage, like just ridiculously bad fiscal scene. And when Disney contacted us and offered us a trip to California and money, it was like, okay, we can get paid for this. And when we went down to California, we actually, one of the nights, it was for an event called Social Media All-Stars. And so there was like Grumpy Cat was there, and a bunch of other like convos with my 2-year-old, and a lot of other social media faces and personalities that had kind of popped up and really took off in 2013. And so we were down there in California one night. We went for drinks with everybody to sort of get to know them in the lounge of the Grand Californian in Disney. And I kept saying to people, so what do you do? And they said, well, YouTube. And so, oh, no, but I mean your job. Well, YouTube. And I'd ask someone else the same question. What do you do? Well, YouTube. No, your job. No, that is my job, YouTube. And Shannon and I had a conversation that night. We're like, well, why aren't we doing this? This sounds this sounds like we could make this a real thing. Yep. And just, I think necessity meant that, when Disney said, hey, we want all 4 of you to go to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, it was like, okay, kids, this is going to be fun. And if you want to keep the house and want to keep eating, then let's do it, that type of thing. So out of necessity, I think we work together as a family. But I mean, we've been so lucky. We've traveled so many places with our kids and spent so much time with our kids. And now, I mean, as you mentioned, Gregor is successful in his own right on TikTok. Our older son, Owen, just came back from a South American tour where he plays guitar. So, I mean, it's been really, really good to us for sure.
That's amazing. And the thing is, what I find fascinating with you and sort of bringing to the, sort of your knowledge and your experience is that, you're not a 5 million follower, creator, right? Like you're
supposed to talk me up, Carlos. Talk me up.
I'm sorry. I want to be realistic here. No, the thing is, I consider this a credit because you're supporting a family of 4, and you have just shy of 300,000 followers across all your social platforms, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's very smart. That's sort of you being very sort of like entrepreneurial and finding ways to make money beyond just your one thing, right? And what's your diversification? Like, is it just like all different platforms and they're all different coming from? I mean,
our big source of revenue comes from branded content, as opposed to some of the younger people that we know that have done really well just from monetizing content on YouTube and such. We've made our money from branded deals. So like when we did a video called Explaining Canada Day to Americans for KFC Canada. And it was like, in 2017, it was the biggest branded video in the world. And it beat out Nike by 10 million views, which was crazy. And they had what's-his-face, Cristiano Ronaldo. That kind of thing, we realized really early on that if we could do brand work, we would get paid well, much more than we would for monetization. And we would also have control over what the content was so that our audience that we'd built up with all of our original content, non-branded content, sort of felt good that we were doing branded stuff. Kind of like, hey, look at those guys getting paid, and this is funny. That's good. I like it. So that's kind of been the balance for us, has just been doing this brand stuff. And I think the sort of main reason we've done well is because I fill this really weird niche. There's a guy named Jason Nash, who is part of the vlog squad on YouTube with David Dobrik and all those guys. And Jason's been a friend for about 6 years. And Jason said to me about 4 years ago, he said, "You're clean. You'll never have a problem getting brand work." And he was right. It's, I think that especially the older I get, which is weirder, having started this in middle age already, I think that, the older I get, now we're having brands going, well, okay, well, this guy's doing funny stuff. He's not really that offensive. And man, if there ever was an everyman, this is it. Like, he's just a schlub. So I seem to be a good fit. I set the bar low in that regard. So yeah.
Let's face it. Look, I'm on this podcast. I've said this quite a few times that I used to be a media buyer. I used to be a strategist,
right?
And safe spaces are where brands want to go.
Sure.
Yes, we talk about experimental brands and all these campaigns with influencers, but usually those are experiments.
Yeah.
Yes, the space of influencer marketing has matured. Yeah. And people are smarter with their money, and advertisers are smarter with their money, and they want people with more a little bit more of a head on their shoulders. That's not just a manager sort of like handling them and all that sort of stuff. So I've seen very, very much adult influencers do very well. I'm good friends with Toronto duo Kat and Nat, which are moms, and again, they don't have 10 million followers. They have 1 million now. Sure. Right? But even before they had 1 million followers, because they were two moms that were over 30, the brands that came to them were big brands. Sure. And, they weren't making money from monetization. Monetization is nothing for them. Yeah. It's brand deals. So the maturity of creators here is starting to get really important, or it's always been important, but it just feels like it's an advantage versus the other ones, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think absolutely. I mean, I think that there's space for everybody. I mean, the thing that I keep saying, I've been saying for years, is it's a huge pie. Everyone gets a slice. Don't worry about it. And I think that's really demonstrated in how siloed social media is, and especially if you relate it to social media fame. I think that, a really great example of that was we were guests on the Property Brothers Celebrity Cruise in 2016. And we were part of the social media stars that were on this guest, along with a bunch of HGTV people. And so this is a ship full of 2,000 moms, for lack of a better word. They weren't all moms, but essentially a bunch of moms. A bunch of drunk, oversunned moms. And I was one of, I think, sort of 6 other social media Vine people. And I had at the time probably about, I'm going to say maybe 600,000 followers or something, compared to the people I was with who had 3 to 10 million followers each.
Wow.
And we were walking through on the first night, through past the restaurants and casinos and this boat and stuff like that. And, this woman and her daughter rushed over to me and said, "Can we please get a picture?" and handed the phone off to a guy who had 3.5 million followers and said, "Can you take our picture?" And I was like, "Hey, these guys are here too." And they're like, "Oh, do you do stuff as well?" And I thought, well, this is just a really interesting indicator of, even though I've got way less numbers, it's so siloed. It's just because you have 1 million doesn't mean that everybody knows you. And just because nobody knows you doesn't mean you have 10 million.
Yeah.
A really great example of that is about 3 weeks ago at the Eaton Centre here in Toronto. It was essentially shut down because 2 TikTok creators showed up.
Yep.
And I'm fairly involved in social media, as you might guess. And my son, Gregor, as you said, is very involved in TikTok specifically and social media in general. And we looked up their names. We're like, I've never heard of these people before.
Exactly.
Which is crazy. And it was interesting online. People are like, well, I've never heard of them. And it's like, who cares if you've never heard of them? Because obviously hundreds of kids have. So it's just really interesting, that sort of siloed approach, and realizing that I think for brands, for us, they sort of come to me. I've got a meeting tomorrow from a brand where they contacted me and said, would you be interested before Christmas? And meaning that they contacted me before Christmas. Would you be interested in doing something with us? Do you think it would be a good fit? And the brand it is, which I can't say yet, but I said to them, I can't imagine a more perfect fit. Like there's no other content creator I can imagine doing this that would be a good fit. And it's not just me trying to sell myself, even though I am, but more a case of like, it wouldn't work if I was 18. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't be the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely, that's the part that I think, it's fascinating to see how these social platforms have niches within niches, right? And you're able to make a living off of being a specific niche or reaching a specific audience. It doesn't necessarily have to be everybody, right? Yeah. And I think that's one of the key advantages of working on this platform and building an audience on it on these platforms. I tend to be a little bit more focused on YouTube, but one of the thing I found interesting with you is that for you, YouTube is like literally like bottom of the barrel compared to everything else, right? Your main platform is from what I see is Twitter, with Facebook in there as well. And but essentially the content I see come out, and just to explain to everybody the audience here, the content you make tends to be short 2 to 3 minute sketches. You do make fun. You jump on, what's happening, what's trending right now in terms of news. YouTube doesn't really fit your ecosystem. And I've always been fascinated about that because I think you do well on YouTube, but as an analyst, as somebody who knows how the platform works, I know why you're not doing as well as you could. It's because your content's too short. It's just,
for sure.
And that's just my 2 cents there. I don't want to sort of like make it seem I'm criticizing here, but it's sort of like that's where your voice and the way you create content is much more fitted towards platforms that are, quick bites. You have 2 minutes to watch a joke and that's it, right?
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think there's, obviously Twitter is a great platform for me because it's a lot of the stuff I get success with is very zeitgeist and very to the moment current events. An example is on Sunday, we had a emergency alert about the Pickering nuclear emergency or whatever it's called, generating station or whatever. And once it was evident that no one was dead or going to die, I was like, okay, I can make fun of this. And, immediately I made a video and put it out. And in that video, it did really well. It's got almost 500,000 views on Facebook and it's got about 40-some thousand views on Twitter. But I did it in about an hour and a bit, roughly, from scripting to filming to editing and got it out really quickly. And Twitter's great for that because everyone goes to Twitter for sort of recent news, newest things, what's happening right now. And then Facebook is a second best only because of the similar lateral sharing that it has. So that if you like a video, you can share it and all of your friends see it, much like Twitter when you retweet something. And then exactly, like YouTube for me is a bit of a repository currently. And I think that's partly just because of resources and time. Like I think that it's hard, if I was planning a big YouTube video or that was a big part of my structure in scheduling, it might come at the expense of, doing a video about the nuclear emergency alert or something like that. It might be, or whatever. But I think, it's interesting. YouTube actually flew me down to California like 2 years ago in January to have this conference meeting thing with a bunch of ex-Vine stars. And it was a really weird conference. It was literally like going to school for a day. But it was a beautiful location. And then they had us at the YouTube Space LA and stuff, and it was great. Weirdly, Jake Paul, who's a very famous YouTuber, Jake was there, having been a former Viner, but they then presented him with a 2 million subscriber plaque at the time. And I was like, why is Jake here? He doesn't need to learn how to use YouTube. Apparently he knows how to do it. But anyway, they had me down and John Ushue was the programming whatever guy at the time. He's now at Instagram. Super smart guy, really great guy. He came up to me out of the blue and said, listen, I watched your World's Most series. I made 7 videos. The maximum number of views I got on one of the videos was 700 views. That was it.
Wow.
And it was just about World's Most whatever, World's Most ridiculous treehouse, World's Most expensive hotel, whatever. And he said, I really like this, really great. You should do more. You should try to get a brand involved and blah, blah, blah. He said, but really what you should do is just look at what's trending. And I thought, well, and that's kind of my problem with YouTube is that, unless it's really hard to do something and poke through all the noise on YouTube, because YouTube's not really a destination as such. It's more of a search engine, and it's more of a rabbit hole. It's kind of like I'm going to go there to find a specific video, and then I might end up staying for other stuff. And a lot of people, when I do videos on Facebook or Twitter, will actually come to me and say, can you put this on YouTube so I can share it? And it's like, well, okay, sure. Whatever, that's fine. But I mean, I'll do different. It's great for parodies. It's great for licensing and all that kind of stuff. But it's like buying a lottery ticket, posting on YouTube for me currently. There's just no guarantee of any return that's worthwhile compared to the effort.
Yeah, I think, again, like unless you've been on a platform for, you focus on it and make it your primary, you're just adapted much more for, again, you grow into the Vine ecosystem. So it makes total sense that you're doing that. But also, like, one of the things that I was cheering you on for a couple years ago that I noticed was your live show. Yeah, you're one of the first persons that I know to do a live Facebook show. Yeah, I think you were doing it almost every day for a while.
We were. Yeah, we did. And we suffered for it.
And you do this with your wife, and it was sort of like the morning show. What's the name again?
The morning show thing.
The morning show thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I thought it was really smart. And you're still doing it, but you're doing it once a week now, right?
Yeah, we did it. We were doing it Monday through Friday, so 5 days a week at the same time every day. And for the first almost 2 months, our reach on Facebook was about 270,000 people per show. And then it just suddenly, they had one of their big algorithm switches. And our reach went down to 2,500 people. And so we were doing it for about a month for a reach of each show of 2,500 people and maybe getting like 300 views. And it's like, why are we doing this? We're knocking ourselves out every day. So we had built up a decent little community of people at the time of maybe, I don't know, like 30 people who showed up every day to watch. And we're like, we should stop this. And they're like, no, don't stop it. And so we decided to do Mondays and Fridays. And then we realized that we were getting the same amount of numbers if we just did it on Fridays. And people were just as happy to come in and watch it on a Friday morning. So we only do Friday mornings now. But what's really fascinating about that is there's a couple of things. One is the community that we built up is incredibly loyal. So we've had brand deals for example, we did a show that was sponsored by a life insurance company. Can you imagine anything more boring than a show about life insurance? Like, good God, especially for that show. That show is like the morning show thing, main demographic is women 34 to 54. So it's like, who wants to get up on a Friday and talk about life insurance? Anyway, people were so supportive. They were thanking the sponsor. They were tagging the sponsor. They were asking questions. They were right into it. So we're really appreciative of that. What's interesting, the other interesting part is that the Facebook Live, it kind of dove for a bit as they were plagued with like lots of really terrible, tragic things happening on their live stream platform, Christchurch, New Zealand, and all that kind of stuff. And they kind of shied away. However, in the past like 3-ish months, I've been involved in these interviews with Facebook talking about how to improve their live streams, like how to make them better and stuff. So they haven't given up on it. And I think that's good because I think that there's nothing else like the live stream. Like we have, it's like you're watching a show. We do a segment called Roll Call, which is like if people who grew up in Canada might remember Romper Room and, Miss Diane or Miss Betty, whatever generation your miss was, she would hold up a mirror with no mirror in it and look through it. And then she would say, I see Jimmy, I see Sarah, I see whatever. And she would never say my name, but we do a segment called Roll Call where you say hi or good morning. And then I say your name. That's it. And it's simple. It's so stupid in a sense. But at the same time, people feel seen. They feel heard. They feel part of it. They realize, wow, I'm actually in this room with all these other people. And they call themselves the TMST crew. It's pretty cool.
That's amazing. One of my questions is, do you guys monetize? Like, other than the brand deals, are you using Facebook's monetization?
No, where you can't monetize live streams. They won't let you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm really thankful that Facebook is finally monetized in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I was at Facebook's first Creator Day in LA. Again, that's about coming up on 2 years ago, year and a half-ish or whatever ago. And they talked about all these amazing things they were doing in monetization, blah, blah, blah. And every time they'd say it, they would turn to me and they go, but not in Canada. But not in Canada. It was like, man, I feel like it's even the guy beside me who was like from Brazil was like, you're going to get it any second now, but not in Canada. So I'm glad that it's here, but it's also, Facebook is weird because it's, content has to be over 3 minutes to be monetized. And as far as making short, shareable content that's comedic, that doesn't, I mean, nothing's funny for 3 minutes.
Okay, that's very true.
There's a difference between influencers and creators, though. Influencers are living a life that you aspire to be. They sell aspiration. I think that's great. I think that's awesome.
Yep.
Content creators are creating content that's kind of on its own, separate, doesn't necessarily connect to them, to the person specifically. So that's my
a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or is it like there's a lot of Canadian creators? It feels like, there was quite a rush over the last, 5 years.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's been that way for a long time, of course. You think back to like Epic Mealtime and Matthew Santoro and Lily Singh, and even going to 2013 at that first Disney event.
Science.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
There's way more.
2-year-old and Mike Tompkins and all these people. Incredibly talented and Canadian. I remember meeting Mike Tompkins for the first time in California, and I walked over to him and I said, "The pride of Ilderton, Ontario." Ilderton's this like, tiny town where he's from, and it shook him to his core. I think you're absolutely right. And what's really been interesting is I've been working on this event called Social Media North, and now that it's the train's leaving the station and things are happening, people are more, they're finding out about it. And they're getting contacted by creators and their managers saying, "Hey, listen, this person's got 1.4 million followers and they live in Thunder Bay." And it's like, what? Okay. Yeah, they absolutely can come. So I think that Canada, I mean, obviously, I think people are kind of generally aware of the stats, but I think we have some sort of crazy amount of people, like 84% or higher of the Canadian population are on the internet, if not social media. And I think that, it's a cold country, and I think people spend a lot of time on social media. I think that people are realizing, my thing recently has been telling people, what's happening now in social media in Canada is what was happening in social media in 2013 in the US. And that's not to disparage Canada. There's lots of terrible stuff that happened in social media in the US. So hopefully we can learn from those lessons. However, I think that there's a lot of people realizing, oh, you can make money from this. I had a meeting yesterday. The person I was meeting with was genuinely surprised that there were other people on the internet making money, making content for social media. And I was like, man, it's been like this for years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still fascinating when you talk to people that aren't into this ecosystem, that don't understand that there's money to be made. Speaking of Canada and the wonderful creators, you're creating something in Canada that's unique, and this again puts you in that whole like the John Green of Canada, because John Green created VidCon. And you're creating Social Media North, which is a very similar to VidCon sort of a gathering. And you're doing this in a unique space. You're not doing this in a major, Canadian hub. You're doing this in your hometown.
That's right.
Stratford, Ontario. Yeah. Like, why did you want to do this? Because again, I know it's about you, but like a little bit about me here right now. Yeah. There's been a Buffer Festival in Toronto, but it's been morphed over many years, and it's sort of like came in and we thought, oh, it's going to be Canada's VidCon, but it didn't turn out to be Canada's VidCon. VidCon's expanding, and there's been rumors for years that VidCon would come to Canada, but they're not doing it. Yeah, I personally think what's going to happen, and this is my prediction here, is that you're going to prove the model. Yeah. Then VidCon's going to come in, and then VidCon's going to come in.
Bastards.
That's essentially it. Yeah. It's one of those things where now that they're owned by Vidicom, they don't experiment. They don't as much. So they're going to wait.
Yeah, they're going to wait and see McDonald's setups in the corner, and then they're going to come in and say, "Oh, it's safe on that intersection."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Tell us about Social Media North.
I'm slightly terrified now of what you just said, but that's okay. I'll approach it like I'll approach that whole scene of potential having VidCon come in here with the notion of in our town here in Stratford, there was a Blockbuster video that came to town. Like this is obviously when Blockbuster was going around, and it was right across the street from a locally owned video store, and everyone was like, "Well, that's it for the locally owned video store," and people just took such a stand that the Blockbuster closed after a year.
Wow.
Into it. So that's what I will do. I will employ the video plus books model to take down VidCon. No, I'm just kidding. There's lots of pie. Like I said, it's a huge pie. So Social Media North, I've been going to VidCon and Playlist Live events for over 6 years now. And I love them. I think they're amazing. VidCon is I prefer Playlist Live over the two, but VidCon is huge. Like VidCon is massive. 75,000 people this past year at VidCon. And it's the first time I remember being told by Matthew Santoro, I got invited to Playlist Live and I was like, I don't know if we should go or not. Is it worth it? And Matthew Santoro said, you got to go because you show up and you meet a bunch of other people who are doing the same thing as you. And it shows everybody else that you came to play. And he was absolutely right. It was, you go and you meet people and it was just phenomenal. Like I really, really love those events a lot. There's lots of stupid little turds who feel entitled and whatever, but there are more good people than turds, which is good. And you get to connect directly with the people who are consuming the content you're creating, and also connect with people because it's so siloed in social media. You can go and find someone who's also a fan of whoever. Whereas maybe in your circle of friends, you're the only person that watches ASAP Science or whatever it was at the time. And if you go to a Playlist Live, you can meet someone else who's also, a huge fan you can hang out with and talk with and all that kind of stuff. So I love those events, and I for the past 3 or so years, I'd been talking to Playlist Live saying, you got to do this in Canada. You got to do this in Canada. And they have no interest in doing it in Canada whatsoever. I don't know if it's the mention of HST that makes their eyes glaze over or whatever it is, but they just have no interest whatsoever. And
just FYI, HST is a local tax.
Yes, that's right. Harmonized sales tax. Nothing musical about it. They had no interest in coming into Canada. And I think that sort of got my back up a little bit. I still love them, but that got my back up a little bit as a Canadian because I thought, well, why? Why? We have the same population as California. They wouldn't think of ignoring California. Why are they just leaving all this money on the table in Canada? This is craziness. And never mind that. Why are they just kind of ignoring a whole population of millions and millions of users who are consuming this content? So that kind of spurred me on to do it. And I thought, well, I'm going to try to create something so that at the very least, I can invite those creators that I've met over the past 6 years that I like, and we can hang out for a weekend, and it'll be fun, and it'll be a good time. I can show them a bit of Canada, and it'll also show Canada that it's okay for us to take ourselves seriously in this regard. We never take ourselves too seriously, which is good. I think that's part of the Canadian way. But we can take ourselves seriously enough that it's it's okay to go and celebrate what's happening in Canada with not just Canadian creators, with creators from all over the world, but that idea of it's cool. And I think we owe a lot of that. This is a really weird segue, but I think we owe a lot of that to people like Drake. I think that it's made it okay to be from Canada. You know what I mean? If you can film a music video in Collingwood, you can do anything, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. And I was very happy to see that you were doing that because I do feel like there's a need. I know why, the VidCons in this world don't come here. It's the same situation as with brands and advertising. And that's essentially what pulls it, right? I'll give you an example. When I worked in agencies, the budgets that we get are usually a fifth, if not 2% of what the American budget was. Yeah. And even the brand managers, the clients that are Canadian clients for the big US company, they were usually just following the lead of the US company, the US marketing. So they're usually the last one on the list. They get their budget. So, like it's easier to sell an event in the US than it is to sell an event in Canada. And I think we end up proving them wrong with time, with, just, creating the event and then making it work and having it grow. And like, fundamentally, like what's your goal in terms of like the first year in terms of attendance?
Well, the first year is obviously going to be tiny. Like when people ask what it's going to be, I mean, like I say, it's going to be like a mini VidCon or a mini Playlist Live in that we're going to have, there's 2 days. There's a business day on the Friday, which is more geared to content creators, industry professionals, agencies, brands, that kind of thing, getting together in a small group and doing panel discussions and all that kind of stuff and networking. And that's going to be only 250 people. And then the next day is Community Day, and that is open to up-and-coming creators, fans, all that kind of stuff. There's going to be performance stage for on-stage interviews, Q&As, performances. There's exhibitors, and there's 2 meet and greet lounges as well. And that'll be for about 1,200 people. So this is, it's still a lot of people.
Yeah, it is for Stratford, Ontario.
Yeah.
Come on.
Coming from the guy who's doing it, I can tell you it's a lot of people. But I think that it'll be interesting to see how it transpires if all goes well. I mean, I think that it's going to be fun regardless. And I think that's kind of been my mantra is don't worry about it. Just make it fun. There's a couple things. One, doing it in Stratford, I have to keep reminding people, occasionally I have to remind people, it's not a Stratford event. It's a Canada event that happens to be happening in Stratford, much like the World Media Conference happens in Banff. That's not a Banff event, even though Banff has mountains and we don't. But we have lots of pigs in the theater, so that's good. And Bieber as well. But yeah, people, I've only had 3 people ask me about Stratford, like, why are you doing it there? And it's like, well, 500,000 people make their way to the theater every year here in Stratford. And 18,000 people went to the Justin Bieber exhibit last year from all over the world. 18,000 people. Case in point, my oldest son, as he was on tour in South America, he played Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina, and Chile. When they'd ask the kids who were at the shows would ask him where he's from, he'd say Stratford. Every single country, there was a kid who said, "Oh, I was there last whatever to see the Bieber exhibit. Oh, I was there last month. Oh, I was there 2 months ago to see the Bieber." Just crazy. Phenomenal for me. But I think that it is important to do, as you're mentioning, like Canada gets kind of forgotten and the budgets are a tiny percentage. And I mean, just as an aside here, when you're talking about that stuff, I crossed my legs. I was getting so angry. 2 anecdotes. One, we have a friend who's a tech reviewer and he does reviews for Best Buy and does like for their content, not just their site, like not just like verified purchase type of thing, like meaning he reviews content for tech products for them. And he was telling me, as I mentioned to him about, maybe connecting with Best Buy to help be a partner for Social Media North. And he was like, listen, I'm their tech review guy and I have to wait until every other Canadian tech reviewer is done with whatever product I'm reviewing before I get it, because the US company sends up one Chromebook, phone, whatever it is you're reviewing. And I was like, that's insane, which is crazy. So, I mean, that's one example of how Canada kind of gets like, it's Canada, who cares? And I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that the US or the Americans are evil for that. Some of them are, but not all of them. And I think that, the other anecdote is, I did last year when the Baby It's Cold Outside thing was all sort of a hubbub in the news and stuff. People were upset about the song and the lyrics.
Yeah, I remember.
And so I did a parody version of it where it was just the female vocals. And then after everything, the female vocal line finished, I would just say, okay, all right. Yeah. I'd just be like agreeable and like, okay, yeah, it's time to go. Okay. Yeah, sure. And it did really well on Twitter, and it was doing okay on YouTube. I knew on Facebook it would kill, though. So I sent it to my 2 contacts at Facebook, who are wonderful guys, just in case you're listening. No, they are actually really nice guys. But for a year and a half, I'd been asking them if Facebook had a licensing deal for use of music in videos. Meaning, like, if I can't monetize this because it's someone else's song, that's fine. I just don't want to have my page pulled for copyright. And both of them said, yeah, we don't know. You should maybe just post it personally on your page and see what happens.
Wow.
And I was like, come on, guys. And then anyway, 5 days later, a friend of mine, Penn Holderness, who's a super talented, funny guy, he did his own version, like not saying he ripped off my version, but literally he just had his, obviously it was a big talk and it fit what he was doing. So he did his own version, and within a week he had 70 million views. And I was like, damn it. Like, this is crazy. Like, I was stuck literally because I was in Canada. I missed out on all of that profile and attention. And again, just because I'm Canadian, I thought this isn't right. So that was kind of like the main impetus for Social Media North, was to kind of make it so we can't be ignored anymore, and to kind of show each other, like show Canada and other Canadians, that it's okay to take ourselves seriously. It's okay to think that social media and content creation is a real thing in Canada. Mm-hmm. And then also to show the world, aka America, that Canada is worthwhile paying attention to. And I think both those things can balance out. There's two creators we have coming from the East Coast, one from Halifax, one from Newfoundland. And they both have exploded on TikTok in the past 3 months. And I think like one of them's like 140,000. The other one's like over 100,000 recently. And you know, if you have 100,000 followers and you're from Waybush, Newfoundland, mm-hmm. That's huge. Like that's that's a massive following. That maybe doesn't get you noticed in Toronto or Vancouver or wherever, or LA or something. But from a brand perspective, or an agency's perspective, my God, why aren't you tapping into that? This person is obviously resonating with, that region. So make it happen.
Obviously, from a Canadian perspective, like the problem for creators is that we're stuck with our market being a fraction of the budgets of American markets, right? And from the agencies to the media players to the platforms, like every single time you talk to a Canadian rep or somebody that works in the Canadian side of things, they're like always have to refer back to somebody in San Francisco or New York and get their permissions and stuff like that, right? And then there's also the fact that you might be big on TikTok and all that sort of stuff, but then or on YouTube, but when you look at the nitty gritty, the platform analytics, you see that your percentage of views are coming from all over the place, and obviously a big chunk of it comes from the US. Mm-hmm. And then when a media buyer looks at their return on an investment, they have to make sure that they're buying media that doesn't spill in the US as much as it should. So when you're buying a creator that has 70% of their views going into the States, well, that's a lot of waste. So they're always going to lowball you. And all that sort of stuff, right?
Sure.
So it's not a fun ecosystem for us because of our dependence of the US. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's an interesting situation. I mean, I think that you're right. I mean, obviously the bulk of ad spend and stuff and marketing spend takes place in the States because it's 10 times the size of Canada. I think one of the things that's overlooked, though, is, of course, I mean, there's a big difference between branded content and a general media buy, like buying a TV commercial or something like that, or an ad in a magazine or whatever. If you're buying branded content from a creator who has, just for argument's sake, has like 100,000 followers on whatever platform, and let's say 60% of those people are in America, well, there's still 40,000 people in Canada or wherever else, say, there is. And I think that's one of the things that we're just not, in Canada, for whatever reason, we're just not entirely up to speed yet. I think I may have said earlier in this conversation as well that, I sort of feel like Canada is where the US was in 2013, 2014, as far as social media and branded content goes. And I think it's just a case of realizing, there's lots of ways for us to take advantage or capitalize on these connections that these content creators have made in Canada to Canadian markets. And that's changing now, which is great. And that's one of the reasons why I'm able to still, do this as a living and support a family of 4. Do this. And it's good. We've got companies, Canadian companies like Club Coffee or something, or even like Canadian subsidiaries like Scott's or something, who are realizing now, we can capitalize on this Canadian market using someone who's hitting that audience directly. And even though 55% of my audience might be in the US, they can see that a good chunk of the remainder is from Canada. And that's still a lot of people. We've got 10 times less people. So 100,000 goes a long way.
Yep. You're right. So, it's not something we're going to solve ourselves. But,
What?
All right. So, obviously I'm very interested in how you get your content out, how you and not just how you monetize it, but you're very, again, you're outside of the ecosystem when it comes to the YouTube ecosystem. So, how do you get so much of your content on a regular basis out? Because from what I see, you're almost daily you come up with a good sketch, right?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's not quite like daily, but I think one of the things, I did a lot of work in social with Drew and Jonathan Scott, the Property Brothers guys. And one of the things that I remember Drew saying to me was, about a year into it, he's like, here's the secret, is that once you get sort of a good catalog of content and material, you can then start essentially doing reruns or repurposing content. And that really helps as far as being for all intents and purposes, a one-man show. There's certainly crews that we work with for different projects. But in general, like for the Twitter videos I'm doing and most of the Facebook videos, is just me. That's, filming, that's scripting, filming and editing and all that stuff. So I put out a video today that I recorded and filmed in 2017, and it did okay then. And so all I did was update it, trim it a little bit, and added some captions. That really helped, make it fresh again, basically.
Yeah, that's something that I remember as specifically noticing with you, because obviously I noticed you mostly on Twitter, because TikTok's just makes me feel old, but it's sort of like you use a lot of like what I would call traditional marketing tactics, right? Of like, not just like, I'm just a piece of content and then I'm going to move on to the next one. You're like, you go back to your library, you'll, repost, you'll retweet, just basically almost like a traditional social media strategy.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of value to that, because there's this, nonsense sort of subconscious feeling that you get as a content creator or someone who puts content out on social media, where you think, I've already posted that a year ago. Everyone has seen it. Yes. Like, well, no, they haven't. First of all, guaranteed all the people that now follow you between then and now haven't seen it, or most likely haven't seen it. And plus, you just, it's essentially impossible to oversaturate social media and the internet in general. Yeah, so right. There's still, even though something's been out there, there's still, and you're right, it applies to sort of a traditional as well. Last night I was on a bit of a, The Simpsons bender on the Disney, what's it called? Disney Plus. And so I was on a bit of a Simpsons bender last night, and I was maybe like season, I don't know, like 16 or 17 or something.
Oh, you're touching those? Oh, sorry.
But I was playing them, and there was a couple episodes I played, and I was like, I haven't seen this. And I watch The Simpsons religiously and have since 89. And so it sort of lended weight to the argument that it's like, it's okay to sort of put stuff out there that has already come out, as long as it's, if I'm making jokes about, Arsenio Hall and, Bill Clinton being impeached, it's like, that's not going to be fresh. But today's video is just, a dramatization of me explaining what fidget spinners are to my Scottish father. So that's not really connected to any particular event apart from that moment in time. So,
yeah, you'll be forgiven for not watching as many Simpsons as we used to about 10 years ago. From what I've seen, they've really like jumped the shark on that series. At least
shut your dirty mouth.
I haven't watched it in I would say 8 years at this point.
You got to get there was like one really terrible season where it wasn't even terrible. It was just like didn't make any sense. And then it's curved back around. I'm still a big believer in it. I'll be super sad when it goes off the air.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I'm happy that it's lasted this long and it keeps going. But now you're starting to hear, Hank Azaria just announced that he was going to quit.
Yeah,
going to retire the Apu character.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, oh man! And now that the characters are no longer, PC, so that's how old the show is, right? Oh my God, they're not just dying out. off. They're like, they literally need to cut them out because they're no longer PC. And let's not get into a big Simpsons discussion at this point. So obviously you're one of the people that's always on the cusp of the latest social media app. And funny enough, I heard you on a friend's podcast, Michael Hainsworth's podcast, talking about what was the name of this app that was sort of like TikTok that you were trying out?
Are you referring to Byte, the new app?
No. I was referring to. We'll get to Byte pretty quickly, but it was sort of this purple logo. I forget. Oh, Thriller.
Oh, Triller.
I'm an 80s kid, so obviously I think Thriller.
Triller's been around for, I was going to say forever. In social media terms, it's been around forever.
I must have ignored it.
It's like it's totally meant for making essentially music videos. And I actually saw the Triller video that Michael Hainsworth and Alan Cross made to a Van Halen song, Panama, and it was really terrible. It was really, really awful. But the idea is like you pick a 16-second clip of music and then you do whatever you want to do to it, sing along, let's say lip sync or something, or dance along. You do that from a whole bunch of different takes, and then it just randomizes those takes but keeps everything in sync. So you end up with a music video, which is which is cool.
Yeah, and I think we were getting into that one. I sort of tried it out, but again, I sort of like tuned out pretty quickly. But the one that's, as we speak, literally as we're speaking right now, is blowing up the internet. And this episode is probably going to come out like at least, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks from a recording date. But
it'll be dead by then.
Yeah, is the return of Vine in a way is Byte. And everybody's sort of like, it feels when you're looking at Twitter right now, like everybody's just jumping on it. And I just saw somebody tweeted about like how there's already like squatters all over the place and all that sort of stuff. But first impressions, how do you feel about it? How does it feel for you?
I mean, one of the secrets
as a Viner, as somebody who grew up on Vine, right? You must,
Karen Spencer on Twitter, she used to be very high up in Vine, head of Vine essentially. And she's super awesome. I like her so much. She's now in charge of social media marketing for Target in the States. And she's great. She's amazing. And she tweeted out, she's like, how's everyone feeling about this? And Karen and I have had our talks before about Vine and the demise of Vine and all that kind of stuff. But my response to her question today was, I have trust issues. I think it's important to remain, as a content creator, to remain platform agnostic and sort of just like not, platform loyalty is what I subscribed to when I was on Vine. I loved Vine so much. Without Vine, we would have been ruined. So I think that, and that's no overstatement. It's absolutely true. So I'm incredibly thankful for what Vine offered us and what Vine did. And I was loyal to a fault, to the bitter end. And that was kind of a tragic flaw on my part. I should have been not so loyal and been, planting seeds elsewhere way earlier than I did. So I think for the case for Byte, it's super fun that it's coming out. I think people are excited because one of the same reason people are excited for Vine is it's only 6 seconds. And so the commitment level as a viewer is super minimum. And the payoff could be really good. So it's like it's like a little lottery draw every new video you pull up. Yeah. It could be crap, it could be great, but it's a super low stake that you have in it. And I think that the key to the format is the same key to the format for TikTok success, to be honest. I think it's the fact that you've got a feed that is all restricted by the same parameters, and you know what you're getting on the next one. Like you're just going to keep rolling through it, and you can consume it, as opposed to some text, some videos, some long video, some short video. It's like it's just going to be the same thing through. It's the only thing that's changing is the actual content of the content, which I think is why people are excited about it.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about an app with focus, right? And an app that stays a little, yes, experiments with different formats and stuff. Like everybody's, I think, as we speak, we're talking about the death of IGTV as the buttons going away. And now I just read an article about how Instagram's just trying to be everything, right? And that was sort of like what turned Facebook into like a not cool platform, right? Yeah. Because everybody's on it, and it's no longer like about your tight-knit community. And that's one thing that I've being on the internet for 20 years now, you start realizing that mass destroys platforms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like as soon as you try to go mass, and yes, mass goes big brands, big advertisers and stuff like that, but it completely destroys engagement and, loyalty to it.
Yeah.
When I look at, and again, sort of going back to the YouTube side of things, is that every few months I get a little bored of it, and I'm like, oh, is this done? And then I jump into a new, for some odd reason, I find a new community within YouTube and realize, holy crap, there's a whole people obsessed with X type of content that are just outside of the mainstream ecosystem that everybody talks about, right? And when you look at the front pages of YouTube logged out, it's completely different to somebody who's, really loves, I'll bring you, sort of my anecdote was like somebody who grew up on metal music, right?
Right.
And just like all of a sudden my channels are, people who are obsessed with like, whatever, like the Dream Theater, all that sort of stuff.
Right.
And you stick within that little ecosystem, you'll always be engaged and you don't feel pushed into the mainstream.
Yeah.
I'm not into the weeds in terms of YouTube, and I'm sorry to sort of go on a rant here, but it almost feels like when platforms try to jump into this social algorithm to push engagement, it sort of destroys that community perspective.
Absolutely.
That when you find your tribe and you're happy within that ecosystem, and yes, there's a lot of bad sides to that. But when you're pushing people too much to engage in other things that's not really their thing, like it just creates chaos and it just turns you off. And that's why, and then I'll just finish my sort of thought before I let you talk, but that's why platforms like, Discord and Slack, and Discord and Slack and others that are more closed ecosystems are becoming popular again. Last example is a big podcast publisher called Twit that I've been listening to for the past 15 years.
Sure.
They just regretted, sort of stepped back from all their social and built their own little forum ecosystem again. And they're like, we're going back to forums. Like, this is way better for us. Like, people really engage. Yeah. Have you sort of seen that a little bit on your side of things?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I despise algorithms. I mean, I understand there's lots of benefits to them in general, but I think that the problem as a creative is that they essentially kill creativity. So you can't try to be successfully creative in the algorithm environment. I mean, case in point was YouTube flew me down to California to the YouTube Space LA, me and a bunch of Viners, and basically flew us down there for a 2-day thing. And it was to teach us, how to hit the ground running on YouTube, basically. And it was really good information. The people were lovely, and the YouTube Space LA is amazing and all that kind of stuff. But the advice was, take a look at what's on the trending page and try to do something like that. And I was like, nope. I was looking around the room going like, all these people built their, careers, for lack of a better term, in social media by not doing that. They all built it by doing exactly their own thing, and that built their own audience and built their own community. So yeah, I think it's, I'm hoping that the platforms will learn that people don't want that. Because I mean, I think even when Twitter came out with the option to go with chronological as opposed to, interesting to you or whatever the hell the other option is, I mean, I immediately switched it over to chronological. It's like, this is why I like Twitter. I don't want to, if I want to go find something, I can keep scrolling back, or I can go to someone's profile. I don't need the algorithm to guess at what I think I want to look at right now, because I'll be stuck in a vacuum. I'll be in that bubble again.
Yeah. I know why they force people to do this. It's more for the new ones, because they've sort of hit the cap of like people who want that. And then they're like, okay, how do we entice people that, don't want that want a little bit more openness or a little bit more, engagement, and how do they onboard those people? And that's why, whenever somebody complains about an old feature going away or being shifted, it's like you're fighting a losing battle, because they don't care about the old creators. They don't care about the old users. They care about the new users.
It's all onboarding for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all onboarding. And this is bringing it back also the YouTube side of things, sort of seeing hints, and me and Tom sort of like have had a little bit of discussions about this. This is, we feel like YouTube's sort of taking a step back from the whole social part of things. Yes, there is a social community. There's community boards on channels, and there is like their little stories ecosystem. But in terms of recommended videos, I think it's gotten them in trouble over the last couple of years with extremist stuff.
Yeah.
And they're starting to realizing that, recommending stuff based on an algorithm might not be the ultimate thing here. And it feels like there might be taking a step back towards the search and sort of giving search a little bit more its thing.
Yeah.
Because the way you grow views on search is by building a brand and making sure people are searching for it, and people understand or want to look it up. And, when you, and this is me sort of like going on a tangent again, this point is sort of like this perspective of like, by making it about the algorithm, then you sort of lose a little bit of control or the opportunity for a brand to sort of like build its awareness using your platform, right? Like, your brand is growing when people are searching it more. So
yeah, I think that there's a real importance to me. I think the one thing I wish YouTube would get into is lateral sharing. I would love to be able to, if I'm subscribed to you, I would want to have a feed of videos that you have watched and said, you got to watch this, that you've re-YouTubed as such. And that would mean more to me than recommended next. Even now, as smart as it is, I mean, it's incredibly smart. I'm doing some filming next week, and I was trying to figure out how to do this car mount and all this kind of stuff. And in the videos it was recommending, it was like, no. It's like, that's not what I want. So I didn't even really pay any attention to them at all. And I'd be much more, there's a few cinematographers that I follow that I'd be much more inclined to go to their feed or recommended feed and see, oh, great, they said this is the one to talk about. This is the one to watch. That would mean more to me. I think that's the biggest problem with YouTube, is that there's no lateral sharing. And the same problem with Instagram as well, is that it's,
True. Yeah, they've gotten away with that. Anyways, enough ranting about the platforms. Stuart, tell people where to find you. What's the platform that you want people to sort of pay attention to the most?
No platform loyalty, Carlos. No platform loyalty. Just search for
email subscription.
Exactly. Even that. Does that still work now? Sure it does.
Yes.
Just look for Brittlestar on any platform and you'll find me. I'm the good-looking guy in the glasses.
Yeah, and obviously pay attention to what's happening with Social Media North. Is there going to be any sort of like video coming out from maybe recording the panels and stuff like that?
Yeah, there will be. So there will be certainly all the panels and such on Social Media North will be filmed and hopefully streamed. But I think people will be streaming it themselves as well, so we're not going to worry too much about that. Yeah, and then more interestingly, I think not more interestingly, but also interestingly is I've actually been filming this whole process since last spring.
Wow!
So
documentary on how to build the VidCon in Canada.
Well, that's right. It's either going to be a story about how it failed, or it's going to be great.
I think that's both of them work.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
That's what I figured. It'll be a good video, regardless. Yeah,
exactly. I'm actually piloting a web series myself with a friend that I've never been a good content creator, and it's taken my friend to sort of like push me a little bit to sort of get it done. And our first video, it's a little product focused, but our first video, like the product failed, right? So I'm like, wait a minute, that's actually a good thing.
That's great.
Right? Like it's not a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's the part that I love about this ecosystem. Anyways.
Content's content.
Exactly. Thank you very much for joining us and joining me. And we'll be seeing you online, and I'll be seeing you at Social Media Now.
Thanks so much.
Take care.
Thank you, Brittlestar. Thank you, Stuart, for joining me. And, we did have a few technical glitches. Last few podcasts, we've had a lot of technical glitches, so sorry about that. But the reason I call him the, Hank Green is just because he's sort of like the adult in the room. Like he knows who he is, and he knows what these platforms can do to us. So that's why I sort of call him the Hank Green of Canada, but not because less about the YouTuber, how he makes content, but just how responsible he is. He's often on local television talking about the latest trends. And, I'm always amazed at his speed in releasing content that's so of the news. I think he's literally, wakes up every morning, has his coffee, and just looks at what's happening, and then records a quick video of what's happening, a quick sketch that he'll write up.
Yeah, and I think you have to be that fast, especially when, like you said, he's not necessarily only operating on YouTube. And when you're looking at those other platforms where kind of virality is more important, you have to be totally on trend to, really cut through on Twitter or Facebook. So seems like he's really got his processes down to a T.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like he kind of has to, like, one of the negatives of the way he does it is that you kind of always have to be on. You have to, you can't just, sit back and say, okay, my old videos are gonna, help me out. But I mean, he's got it done pretty well. He's been doing it for many, many years at this point. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does with Social Media North. Although I'm crossing my fingers now, considering everything that's happening. I think it's an amazing that he got it. He's getting that done, and I'm seeing a lot more attention here locally on it these days. So I'm having clients even start asking me about it. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, that's really cool. And what is it that you're actually going to be talking about there, Carlos? Because as you said, you're going to be holding a session at Social Media North. What are you going to be talking about specifically?
He told me last week. Hold on, I need to double check.
That is just. So you mean you don't have your PowerPoints ready already?
It's not. No. First off, I'm not doing a PowerPoint. It's more of a sort of panel.
Oh, yeah, I love a good panel.
Yeah, I think I love a good panel. I'm on with quite a few veterans in the scene. Locally, I'm with Matt Santoro and Harley Mordenstein from Epic Mealtime.
Oh, nice.
We're talking about building a business and long-term business on the platform in general. And I'm going to have to double check on that. But, I literally had to bug Stuart last week. Say, hey, by the way, what the hell am I talking about? What the hell am I doing?
Yeah, no, I thought it was a great interview. I loved how kind of humble he was and family orientated. That's really, really cool. I love what he said about realizing that once you've got a certain size catalog, you can start to do like reruns and best ofs and stuff like that. And I don't think there's enough of that happens. People have got this giant catalog of assets and they're really not leveraging that existing catalog, that back catalog, and they're just always concentrating on getting the newest and the latest out. But that can be really, really powerful, especially for bigger companies.
He's one of the only ones that I see really doing that really well. And, every time there's a piece of news that he's talked about in the past, and he has this awesome Giphy of him looking out the window with eating Lay's potato chips. And it's this awesome GIF of him, and the caption is watching American news. He's just looking out the window worried. It's so typical. It's like the quintessential Canadian sort of a perspective.
Yeah. The only thing that I took umbrage to was that he said that, Canada gets everything last. And that's definitely not the case, because I remember, following you for years, Carlos, and you're like, oh, we just got this. I'm like, oh, you Canadians get everything first. Because over in the UK we get everything so late, it's crazy. YouTube Premium didn't come to us until 2 years later, something like that. So pretty crazy. So Stuart, you're not as hard done by as you think. So
exactly.
Yeah,
we're spoiled because we're right next to the States, so we see the States getting everything first, and then we're like, oh god damn it, we're last.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much, Stuart. Thank you very much to our sponsor, TubeBuddy, who has been our sponsor since the beginning. TubeBuddy takes your channel to the next level and gives you the tools to boost subscribers, views, and engagement. Tom, where can people sign up?
Yeah, if you visit videoinsiders.fm/TubeBuddy, you can get an exclusive, world exclusive multi-channel license discount. That's videoinsiders.fm/TubeBuddy.
Thank you, TubeBuddy. Have a good one, everybody.
If there's anyone else out on the scene that you'd love us to talk to, please let us know at Video Insiders on all of the socials, or hello@videoinsiders.fm on the email. Or if there are any newsworthy topics or subjects you'd like us to cover, please let us know.
And if you haven't done so already, please give us a thumbs up, a like, and a review on Ye Old Apple Podcast. Obviously, if you're listening on a iOS device. If not, then you'll have to share us.
Thanks, guys. See you in the next couple of weeks.